Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is a video series 2, part 6. In part 3 of video series 1, I have shared with you some conclusions in the new series on symmetry and its consequences for physics. These consequences touch some fundamental questions in physics. In this part, I would like to share with you some more details. Let me start with some basics. There are some basic types of symmetries. As shown in the drawing on top, they are mirrored symmetry, rotational symmetry, translational symmetry. We can see different symmetries in the nature, for instance, on plant, flowers, bodies of animals, and on the human body. They are beautiful and make us happy. From the very early stage of our civilization, our ancestors enjoyed the beauty of symmetry. They also tried to benefit from symmetry. One example is pottery. In the production process of a pottery, the craftsman placed clay on a rotating wheel. He used his foot to drive the rotating wheel and used his hand to shape pottery. He could put his imagination into the shape of the pottery. His imagination would make his customers happy and enjoy the pottery and to use it. Craftsman was driven by his will of individual efficiency and the will of group efficiency. He passed them to the pottery and later to his customers. The human being uses symmetry in two ways. First, symmetry as an expression of the original will of group efficiency of the mankind. In this case, symmetry is used in a simple way and occasionally. One would feel relaxed and happy with it. One could see this kind of usage of symmetry in ancient arts and music. The left drawing is a copy of an ancient Egyptian painting 3,500 years BC. Second, symmetry as an expression of the social will of group efficiency of the human society. In this case, symmetry is used repeatedly and massively. It would create an atmosphere of seriousness and overwhelming. It symbolized a strong social will. One could see this kind of usage of symmetries in religion-related or ground or national music, decoration, and buildings. On the right drawing, you see the Cologne Cathedral and a decoration on one of its windows. As I explained earlier, biology is driven by the will of individual efficiency. The four wills of a living being are reflected on its body structures. The symmetry on a living being can be classified into two levels. The first level is the global symmetry. They are different for different living species. The global symmetry on a living species is a reflection of the will of the living species. The second level contains details of the symmetry. They are different for different living beings of a same living species. For instance, the symmetry on the faces of every human being is different. The details of the symmetry on a living being are mainly a reflection of the will of individual efficiency of the living being. They are partly a reflection of the will of group efficiency of the living species. You could see the capability of a living being from the details of the symmetry on its body. You could also see the attractiveness of the living being from them. The symmetry on the body of a living being explains the natural selection law of Darwin. Symmetry in physics manifests in visible materials and invisible mathematics. Symmetry in a physics law is the representation of one of the four wills. It means preservation of disorder or order. Breakdown of the symmetry means the conversion between disorder and order. For instance, symmetry in a will is the representation of its will of individual efficiency. It means preservation of the order of the will. The breakdown of the symmetry means the loss of the existing order of the will. It should be careful that everything has four wills. They evolve continuously. Their relative strength changes. For instance, the will of group disaster of the will could become stronger than its will of individual efficiency. It could lead to breakdown of the symmetry of the will. This explains the so-called spontaneous symmetry breakdown in theoretical physics. Symmetry in material is a representation of its will of group efficiency. It means preservation of a certain order in the material. The breakdown of symmetry means loss of the order in the materials. I should mention that we have discussed the supersymmetry in time and space in part 3 of this video series 2. It is the most fundamental symmetry and it is beyond the physics because it is associated with the new will conservation law and it doesn't mean preservation of disorder or order. There exist a number of conservation laws in physics, such as energy conservation law, momentum conservation law, angular momentum conservation law, charge conservation law, etc. These conservation laws are the representations of the will of group disaster. Symmetry in them means preservation of disorder. You see on the drawing, all of them are in quadrant 4. The breakdown of the symmetry means conversion of disorder into order. We miss still a very important conservation law in physics, It's up on the start of the universe. The universe, in its start point, contains huge wheel of group disaster. It means that any theory about it should have a symmetry in quadrant 4. The symmetry means that the huge constraint disorder of the universe is preserved. The breakdown of this symmetry would mean that a big part of the huge constraint wheel is converted into constraint order, and a part of it converted into unconstrained disorder. It is the part of the start of the Big Bang process. The existing gauge theory doesn't describe this process. It describes only individual particles. Therefore, I list a new group theory here. It should be able to describe the beginning of the universe. You could see from the previous slides, symmetry in general relativity is in quadrant 3, symmetry in quantum mechanics or current gauge theory for particle physics is in quadrant 1. On the left, general relativity is driven by the will of group efficiency. Symmetry in general relativity is the representation of the will of group efficiency of constraint order. Symmetry means preservation of constraint order. Breakdown of symmetry cannot take place. The constraint order cannot be converted into disorder. On the right side, quantum mechanics is driven by the will of individual happiness. Symmetry in quantum mechanics is the representation of the will of individual happiness of the constraint or free disorder. The symmetry means preservation of constraint or free disorder. Breakdown of the symmetry can take place. The constraint or free disorder can be converted into constraint order. The message from the discussion here is that it doesn't make sense to unify general relativity and quantum mechanics. We should also look at the roles of general relativity and quantum mechanics in the evolution process of the universe. I would like to mention a few points here. First, general relativity describes the suppression of individualism in the universe. It is with maximal certainty. It speeds up the evolution of the universe towards its death. Second, quantum mechanics preserves the individualism in the universe. It is with a maximal uncertainty. It slows down the evolution of the universe. This means that general relativity and quantum mechanics play an opposite role in the evolution process of the universe. The conclusion from these two slides is that from the point of view of philosophy and physics, the unification of general relativity and quantum mechanics is impossible. As you may know, the unification of general relativity and quantum mechanics is, since Einstein, the dream of many physicists. There were many attempts, all failed. The discussion here explains the failure. One of the conclusions in part 5 of this video series is that one cannot use the same mass definition for quarks, boson, and gluon in the standard model. We learned from the previous slides of this part that there is no model to describe the beginning of the universe. In the existing standard model for high-energy particle physics, mass is given to quarks, boson, and gluon via the so-called Higgs mechanism. There were already some open questions about this mechanism, but when the Higgs particle was found in 2012, the discussions disappeared. The physicists even want to build a new Higgs particle factories now. In some sense, the Higgs particle looks like a modern version of the old ether concept. The old ether concept was used to explain the physics process for the Lorentz transformation, but it faced some open questions. Einstein looked at the questions from a new angle and came up with the total new relativity series. Furthermore, in comparison with the experimental discoveries 100 years ago in physics, the experiments at high-energy particle collider today look like engineer verification rather than something for scientific discovery. At the collider, high-speed particles collide with each other to generate new particles. Huge particle detectors are built. The picture in the slides is an example. Only a few events are selected online and offline from billions of events produced at the collider. Basically, you want only to see what you want to see. It is not good for scientific discovery. I would like to share with you a few general remarks on physics. First, the development in physics in early 20th century touched the ceiling of Aristotle. The physicists didn't realize this. Since then, they tried to escape from the fundamental problems in physics because they didn't know what they could do about that. They turned more and more to mathematics, experiments, and applications, especially the technology development. On the other hand, philosophy is in practice also that. Philosophy is the foundation of all sciences. The death of philosophy means the death of sciences. Physics and sciences in general today need fundamental change in concept. The change needs support from new philosophy. I believe that the new philosophy system provides a solid base to revitalize physics and the sciences in general. Physics and sciences in general face new challenges. It is good for the young people. With these remarks, I would like to close part 6 of video series 2. Thank you for your attention.